Hello everyone. What is it, Socks? Wednesday. I haven't got the microphone on this, so I hope it's picking up sound. Socks is actually helping today, but I hope you're having a good day. I've got a cup of tea, and I haven't got my tripod. I just began spontaneously because Socks happened to be sitting here. I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about today. I look at other people's YouTube channels and they've always got some big thing that they're on about. I saw somebody who had millions of viewers who was declaring that he was writing a book and was living in some fancy place in order to do it. I've never really done that. Loads of writers I know seem to go off and get these amazing grants and do these incredible things. I've just always made up books as part of my life going on, and especially when I was lecturing, I'd have to kind of fit in novels by staying up through the night, or I don't know, doing things at funny times. It would be lovely to get one of these fancy things where you writing a novel is the important thing, where you doing your own work is seen by other people as important and interesting and useful. I don't think I've ever really had that. Even 50 books or whatever it is into my stupid career. It's never quite been that. I suppose, it's because as soon as I was publishing, I was off having to do a job where I was encouraging other people, younger and older than me, to do the same thing, just because I had to make a living. It is one of the problems that, especially in the UK, the people who get to work in the arts and to write and make nice things tend to be posh, independently wealthy, or just rich or whatever. And people who aren't don't get to do these things. Or they get to do them in compromised ways or different ways, or they have to do them whenever they can, staying up through the night or whatever, writing when they can. I don't know. How did I get onto that, Socks? Oh, watching other people set up themselves as great writers living in amazing places and having space and time in which to write. I'm kind of happy if I can sit in the morning, usually supervised by Socks, and write my 1,000 words. Although in recent years it's had to be 2,000 words a day in order to hit deadlines, especially when I was writing as Elsie Mason, because that meant 2 books a year by Elsie, because that's how sagas like to be published, in these huge installments twice a year. Yeah, that makes me happy to have accomplished a certain number of words in the morning. And luckily, that's what I've been doing this week. I've had 1,000 words a day, except for Monday, when I sat with loads of bits of paper and figured out what I hope is the shape of my last third of this novel, this domestic thriller I keep talking about in a kind of cryptic way. There's nothing cryptic about it. I just don't want to give away what it's about, really. And that's what I'm on with. And 1,000 words got done today, and a couple of pictures got done this morning as well. Paintings based on images of Levenshulme Pride in the past couple of years. That's my new art project, is making up a set of perhaps 8 paintings of people at Levenshulme Pride, and I can make some prints of those and cards for when August comes round and it's Pride time again. So there's been writing this morning and painting and a tiny bit of reading. I'm back on my pile of current reads. Oh, just moving this slightly, Socky. There's my hand. I don't know why. I've got a tripod and a selfie stick and all that stuff, and I'm still just holding things by hand. Still reading Leonora Carrington. She's just hit Paris with Max Ernst. She's in her 20s and living the life of Riley, I think. Max was intellectual, popular and Urbain, along with André Breton and Paul Eluard. He was a central figure of surrealism, usually to be found in the middle of the group at the Café Les Deux Magots or the Café des Fleurs in Saint-Germain, or at the Café de la Place Blanche in Pigalle. So it was that the feisty 20-year-old former debutante with her wild black hair, her pale alabaster skin and her red lipstick found herself at the centre of the most exciting group, artistically speaking, on the planet. Within days of her arrival, suitcase in hand at the Gare du Nord, on the boat train from London, she was having supper with Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali, André Breton, Paul Eluard, whom she already knew, of course, from Cornwall. That was a racy chapter. Marcel Duchamp and Yves Tanguy. It was a thrilling, fascinating, compelling group. The whole ethos of the group, she said later, was incredibly productive, focused, industrious. These were artists intent on changing the world. And she was now at the centre of their deliberations about how they were going to do it. It's interesting, the bit that I pick out is about how to live and how to be a creative person in the world. And they did it together, of course. And as I said the other day, I loved being part of something where there was a whole load of us engaged in a similar kind of project when I was working in universities. I think other people have said that that whole creative writing world was the closest we had to the idea of a salon at that point, probably in the 80s and 90s the most, or a movement in the arts. One that I saw, I suppose, dismantled and ruined as I was amongst it, because of the monetizing of everything, because of the arrival of shysters, really, and people on the make. Which, I mean, there's always that, I suppose. People always spoil things by being greedy or silly or going in for that whole thing of not being able to do the thing but looking as if they can do the thing and hitting all the targets, evidencing rather than doing, which is something that's ruined, I know, every kind of work and in kind of workplace that I know of. I know so many people who've been driven out of the work they love to do by the arrival of dreadful people and dreadful systems in the last 10 or 15 years or so. Anyway, one thing I meant to say when I was talking about university teaching was that I still have recurrent nightmares, and I have them quite regularly. If I'm under any kind of stress, I will have a dream that I'm heading back to the campus at UEA. I'm getting a train and then a taxi, and I arrive in the office where Alita, the departmental secretary, is sat there, all grand, crocheting a blanket and pretending to use her computer and gossiping with everyone. And she points to my pigeonhole. And I had this 2 nights ago. I can picture it again. This dream comes back all the time. Points to my pigeonhole, which is crammed full of UCAS forms and all kinds of paperwork. And UCAS forms in those days were like origami projects. You'd unfold them and there'd be everything miniaturized. And they would include, in my case, about 5,000 words of creative writing samples, stories and poems, all stapled to the form. Nobody else asked for this stuff. Nobody else did interviews, as far as I know. I did them, and in creative writing, because I felt you had to see people and you had to know their work to let them on courses. Unless they were a Saudi princess, of course, who they tried to let in with no interview and nothing else. And I put my foot down about that one, but that's a whole different story. The saga of the lost Saudi princess. I'll tell you that one sometime. But anyway, in this dream, I go there and here's this huge pigeonhole filled with papers that I haven't dealt with yet, that are still there to be dealt with, thousands of them. And Alita, the secretary, starts laughing because she pulls out another box of papers, photocopying paper box, from under her desk, and there's thousands more forms. Now, this actually happened. one summer term, I think, I went back and there was all this stuff waiting for me, and she laughed. She laughed at my dismay, but also at how impossible it was. And it was impossible to get through. And I was getting there hours early every morning just to go through these forms. And it left a huge mark on me because I'm still dreaming about it 20 odd years later, being left with all of this stuff to do. And in my dream, I go back to my office, sit there early in the morning with all these forms, and there's a knock at my office door, and suddenly there's a queue with Alita standing there saying, all these middle-aged people want to see you. And there's all these people in their 40s saying, have you done our forms yet? We haven't been to college because we're still waiting to hear back. And this is what I dream about, letting people down. I wonder how you stop such kind of stress dreams. I don't know. Anyway, that's the mark that my my academic career has left on me. I thought I'd mention it just in case anybody's thinking of going into such things. Right. Socky has now decided he's sleeping here. There he is, on my chair. We're going to read some more about Leonora Carrington, aren't we? Cats are quite keen on surrealism. Can you see those cardboard boxes on top of that bookcase there? They're all filled with journals. And the shelves, this is quite a good angle to talk about the bookcases. Shelves underneath, 2 shelves there, are all filled with more journals. I should get them all out and show you at some point. But I have at least 28 years worth of very complete journals where all the secrets are, all the terrible stories, all the dirt is, and all the funny stuff as well. Everything I've observed. Sometimes I kept journals less completely when I was extremely busy. They weren't always kept, but there's always notes. I know when and where things happened. So that's quite funny to go back through. They're in a bit of a jumble. They're boxed up there and shelved there. Maybe I'll do some videos about journal keeping, about writing diaries, about the practice of it. And not that I'm any expert. No, I am an expert. I'm not sure I'm a good expert at it. I think I've tried keeping journals in every way possible. And I've got a lot of things to show for that. Drawing books as well. And sometimes books which are a mixture of drawing and writing. Yeah, I'll dig some of those out at some point and talk about them. I'm going to sit and read my Leonora Carrington. I've got Cressida Cowell with me to read some more of this, which I'm enjoying. And I've got Jerry Potter, which I'm still reading. I've got somewhere our current book club book, The Glass Room, which is progressing more slowly than, for example, this racy comedy, which is quite saucy now that I'm halfway through. The novel by Taj McCoy that I'm reading. What I want to do is go book shopping. Somebody mentioned it and I was like, oh yeah, I could do with an afternoon out, especially now that I'm writing. Doing words in the morning means that you feel as if you should be free to go out and see the world in the afternoon. We're not quite doing that. I'm waiting for prints to arrive. Someday my prints will come from the Royal Mail and my printers. I'm getting a whole pile of cards actually for the weekend based on my Levy paintings, and they'll be here. Or they better be here this afternoon so I can start putting them in cellophane and stuff ready for my stall on Saturday on the Levy Creators Market, which hopefully I'll film some of if I don't get too shy with my camera and selfie stick. Maybe I'll do some of that. Okay, I'm gonna go. This has been a wobbly handheld experience, but with added Bernard socks. Say goodbye, Bernard socks. You gonna say goodbye to everyone? Well, you were shouting. He was shouting a few moments before. I hope the microphone has picked up enough of what I said to make this viable. So anyway, I'm not going to live in a fancy house in Korea and live at one with the universe and write my novel. I'm going to sit in the middle of Levenshulme and crank out words when I can and get on with the rest of my life. Anyway, I will see you soon, and I think this will go out on Sunday. I think it's still midweek and I've still got quite a lot to do before I get to the weekend. Okay, everyone, goodbye, and I will see you again soon in the next episode of this, whatever this is.